So there is a secret to Mike Tyson's boxing ability. It wasn't just savage childhood trauma. It wasn't some of the horrible things that happened to him that fueled his anger. It fueled this beast within. It also might have come from an outside source and part of
Right.
Cus D'Amatos or D'Amatos. I'm Italian, I should know that. Cus D'Amato's system.
Castigliano.
Is it D'Amato or D'Amato?
Castigliano, from what I
Cus
understand.
D'Amato. Cus D'Amato had a system. And that system was to fight every single day since 12 years old, right? But it's
Right.
more than just that. It has
Right.
something also to do with being hypnotized. So if you could, Denique, tell us about Mike Tyson's secret
So
to
what
success.
I like to call this segment our unknown boxing history segment. And so what we're going to be talking about today is Mike Tyson actually being hypnotized from the age of 13 by his original trainer, Cus D'Amato. So apparently, if you know anything about Mike Tyson's history, he was in a home and he got to Cus through the home, through a person who worked in the home. He brought him over to Cus and Cus started to train him. He moved in with Cus. Now, Cus D'Amato was actually a hypnotist himself, from what I understand. And so he thought that since Mike Tyson was a great fighter, he would just have raw talent. But Mike Tyson also, as he speaks about himself, that he was very humble and that, he would get bullied as a child and, that he always didn't have like the self-esteem that he really felt that he needed to win these fights. So Cuss thought that it would be a great thing for him to be hypnotized. And so it really like kind of work on his mind and work on his body. So what they would do is Cuss had a hypnotist work with him 2 to 3 times a day, actually, before sparring, training, fights, all these things. Not a week, 2 to 3 times a day, from what I understand. And he would work with him in preparation for his fights. And it was basically just to like strip away the doubt, the fear, and to bring out the beast inside of him. So it was like a mental programming that Mike Tyson went through. And this is actually really rigorous to like retrain the mind. And because Mike Tyson was 13, his mind was still developing. So he was able to actually hook into this whole hypnotist thing, and it really worked for him. He says that he was using this hypnotist theory all the way up until way after he was with Cuss and like with all his fights. That he would even sometimes be hypnotized 2 hours, up to 2 hours before he fought all his bouts, which is insane. I had no idea about this thing at all.
Also, when they were hypnotizing him, it says, or at least
Hmm.
this is what he said, was that they made him believe he was a
Right.
ferocious animal.
Right. And he said you
And you
can
can see
actually
that.
you know
And
what, it's crazy that when I found that out, and then when you go back and look at Mike Tyson's fights, he said that he would get hypnotized, he would go into all these sessions, it would be like dark in the room, he'd just be laying down flat on the floor or on a bed, and he would just think about him and his opponent, and he would just visualize him knocking out his opponent in the first round. He would visualize him being crowned the king. He would visualize him being, the person who was going to be able to knock out every single opponent that he had, and which he did. I mean, Mike Tyson's knockout record was insane, and he always knocked out his opponent within the first, 30 seconds of his fights, which is crazy. And he said it was like a manifestation with visualization, and that's how they taught this to him. And this was like back in like what, the 1980s, which is insane because now we have a lot of metaphysical things and all these TikToks about like meditation and the mind and the power of the mind and all these things. But this was before this was even popular. There are people now to this day that think that this is all it's a quack thing. It's not real. Even Mike Tyson himself says that it doesn't work on everybody. It only works on certain people. And Cuss really believed that this just
you
like
have to
controlled
believe,
his
Dini.
feelings because Cuss was quoted saying that feelings were nothing. It only distracts you. Feelings are a
You have
distraction. So
to,
if you could,
yes.
if anybody could just take away those feelings and focus on your goal, you'll hit it. You'll hit, the bullseye.
And that's kind of what makes,
Hmm.
I guess, a human into an animal is when you
Right.
remove that emotional intelligence and you take it
Right.
away and it becomes instinct. And when you look at any great hypnotist, it really starts with the
Right.
person that's getting hypnotized. They have to believe. You can't hypnotize somebody that doesn't believe in it. But when somebody does have that inkling of doubt, or especially if they really believe, you'll see
Right,
these guys
absolutely. And I
actually get
actually think it's a
hypnotized,
really good thing because
and it
a
can be
lot of
scary.
times, especially I think that boxers who have been beaten, they probably should take a page out of this book because a lot boxing is mental. Remember, it's not a sport to where like with every other sport, it's a team effort. Now you do have your team with boxers, you have to have a good team, otherwise you won't make it. But your team stays in the corner. They tell you what to do, they prepare you, they train you, and when you get in that ring, it's just them and their opponent. That's it. Your trainer can't fight for you. Your trainer can't help you at all. The only thing they can do is help you from the corner when you come back. They're screaming while you're boxing, but it's just you and your opponent, so it's very mental. And when it's mental, everything lives inside. So, a lot of times when
I
people
wonder if
lose,
there's
they still have that thing in their mind where last time I lost. A lot of times you'll see these boxers, before they lost, when they were undefeated, they were great. They went out, they took all the risks, they did everything. And then the next time they come back after they lose, you can see that they're hesitant on throwing punches. They don't want to throw everything because they're scared they're going to get knocked out. So boxing is a very mental sport, and it's really just
it's
you and yourself. And I think that's what something that Cuss was really trying to get through to Mike Tyson, and I think it actually worked.
as evident by his legendary career, and you're absolutely right, and
Mhm.
he of all people is proof that mental
Right.
health and mentality really is everything when it comes to any sport, especially fighting. When you feel invincible
Absolutely.
and you go out there, you have a way better chance of winning. When you have that doubt in your mind, you might just hold back or make the right move because your mind isn't working, not just to the speed, but there's only so many things you can think about. If losing is one of them, and that fear of making the wrong move, that'll take away from
Oh,
a quicker thought
definitely.
of reacting or acting in a ring.
Right.
Literally, like it's just brain function. So, I mean, definitely really cool to think that.
Mhm.
And like you said, he was so ahead of his time, Cosimano. But was he really? Because if you really want to go back,
Oh,
forever
yes.
it's been this way, from the
Absolutely.
Shaolin monks to samurai warriors to
The
any
mind
type
is
of
always
martial art
first.
over the years. Mental health has been so
Mhm.
forever, especially when it comes to a lot of these Eastern practices. So very interesting to see how now we're looking back, or now, like you said, like the TikTok
Right.
people are starting to figure it out. No, they're just the ones that are making it
These are
famous
age-old
and
practices. You are
monetizing
so
it.
right
These are
about that.
age-old
It's very
practices.
true.
You hear it mentioned in pop culture, but not a lot of people know how deeply in over his head he was. And we're not talking just in the ring with Muhammad Ali.
Mhm.
Obviously, he's famously known for taking that little tiny punch that might not have even hit him and knocked him out, leading to one of the biggest boxing scandals of all time. But Sonny Liston was the man. When he was controlled
Right.
by the mob and when he knocked out Floyd Patterson back in 1962, people feared that man.
Mhm. They
Sonny Liston
absolutely
was
did.
damn great. So this to me is kind of a gateway into seeing how corrupt professional fighting really can be,
Mhm.
because Sonny Liston from the get go was controlled by the mob. Back in the day, Danique, the mob would scout out the best fighters in the world. And if you know about the mob, there's connections for the mob all over the place. It's like
Oh,
one big boys
absolutely.
club. It's the little boys club. So actually, Sonny Liston started out in the city of St. Louis, and the mob got him there. People don't know that. That's kind of one of the fun facts. Before Frankie Carbo and Blinky Palermo,
Right.
he was already picked up by the mob. He was already part. He was on the roster out in St. Louis. So it just goes to show right off rip how corrupt that sport is. Like, you mentioned earlier on the air that the NBA and MLB and
Right, it's a lot more
NFL,
controlled.
it's so much more controlled. Whereas
Mhm.
with fighters, these guys are usually underprivileged. Sonny Liston couldn't even read or write.
V it
So he
is
needed help. He needed,
it
literally help to be
Financial
able to.
yeah, literacy is huge. It was a huge problem back then, probably even more obviously than it was today because they weren't even getting the basic education, especially in like poor neighborhoods. So that was definitely a huge problem. And even now, literacy is ginormous. It's a huge problem within the boxing industry.
Let's be honest, Danique. I don't believe that, and this is no knock on Floyd, who I think could be the best pound for pound fighter. He's right up there of all time.
Floyd's
But I've
my
heard him
guy.
try to read. I've heard my man try to read. There's something going on, and it's a very good.
Well, I don't know about that, but I know that Floyd can read now. I know that
Now
Floyd can
maybe
read because I heard him read something on Instagram or something, and I said, Floyd knows how to read. What's 50 talking about?
I saw him reading the Torah. I think he was reading the Torah recently in Israel. He's like, I want everyone to know that I am so for Israel. I don't know if you saw this recently.
Yes,
He
I
was
did.
making
I
his
did.
rounds
It
and
was very, it's very controversial. The whole thing
very
is very
controversial.
controversial,
Yeah,
right?
I don't
That
believe he
whole
took
thing.
money to do that. I believe in Floyd enough. He would never take money to say anything like that.
No, I mean, maybe he just had other things, other business or dealings or whatever, maybe that's really what he feels in his heart, who knows? But people have a lot to say about that, but that's a whole nother subject.
But you're absolutely right. And I didn't realize how big a problem literacy was
Mhm.
in boxing, like modern, like you said. But then
Yeah.
then as I'm reading this, I thought to myself, damn, like,
Poverty. It's poverty. Remember, a lot of people in boxing come from poverty. So when you're in a poverty situation, it's survival. It's not really about, literacy. It's not about making sure your child is up to par on their reading level and on their math level, you know? So, and that's a big problem. And that's why how I originally got into the boxing industry was with my boxing charity, Corner Focus. And we actually did a whole education program to teach people teach kids in underprivileged neighborhoods financial literacy, reading literacy, about banking, accounting, and things like that, because that's where it starts. And it just in case they weren't getting it at home, they could come to the gym, and through our program, they could get it through the gym. Corner
wow,
Focus.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Shouts to Corner Focus.
Yeah.
So
Corner Focus is great.
back then, we really needed Corner Focus, especially in 1962, because if they only could have saved poor Sonny Liston. So we're
Oh,
taking it back to the time machine. It's
right.
1962. My man Sonny Liston destroyed Floyd Patterson in 2 minutes and then knocked him out again in the rematch. And at this point, Liston is the most feared fighter in the world.
He
And
absolutely
little do
was.
most people know that he's probably the most mob controlled heavyweight champ in existence of all time. And here we are in 1962. He's at the top of his game and a bunch of fights after that. But then we get to the roadblock, aka Cassius Clay, who
Hmm.
was a 7-1 underdog at the time, and this is 1964. And this was the first fight that people thought that Sonny Liston threw. But I went back into the time machine and I watched it, and this to me, I mean, it could have been thrown. Maybe he did owe money to the mob. Maybe it was an easy way for him to pay the mob off and throw the fight. But that one to me didn't look like a thrown fight. It looked like Cassius Clay got the better of him.
Listen, Cassius Clay, aka Muhammad Ali, he's the greatest fighter of all time. So to me, I always think that, I would never say that anybody really, I mean, obviously he got beat in some fights, but, to me, he's the greatest of all time. So I don't, I would never want to say that, Sonny Liston just threw the fight and just gave the fight to Cassius Clay or Muhammad Ali at that time. I would like to
I
say that
can't take
Muhammad
Floyd. I'm
Ali,
sorry.
go ahead.
No knock on Tank, no knock on Floyd
Uh-huh.
Mayweather, Danique, and all these other, little guys that are out there fighting. But Sonny Liston, Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, they would pummel these guys. And to me, like the best is it doesn't matter how big or how small the person is. You could put a 500-pound person in there, then maybe he's the best fighter.
Yeah,
But you don't see that because they're usually not as nimble and swift. And a guy like John Jones will rock them.
right.
So it does kind of upset me not to move back to the
Mhm.
Jake Paul, Anthony fight, but that 245 weight cap, kind of upsetting. But anyway, 1964, I watched the fight today because I really wanted to make sure. It seemed as though he was getting kind of broken mentally before his shoulder stopped working like it was. So
Right.
that's my opinion, just from watching this fight. I believe that Muhammad Ali, or AKA Cassius Clay, was the winner of that fight.
Uh-huh.
But now here we are 1 year later. Let's take it to 1965 to the Phantom Punch. And this is the fight that's created all these years of conspiracy theories. And I watched this, and to me, it did seem like kind of a sham. When Ali hit Liston with that quick right, he fell, rolled, and flopped, and then he didn't even try to get up.
Yeah, it just kind of
So
seemed like it was been acted. You know what I mean?
completely. It seemed like it was some type of an act, and it wasn't like these guys are paid actors, so it's not like, and I'm sure that he wasn't throwing all of his fights, so he's not a master at throwing fights, and it just seemed painfully obvious.
Hmm.
And it really sucks because it does put, it's not a stain on Muhammad Ali's career, but for him to even be involved, it's disrespectful towards Muhammad Ali on so many levels.
Right.
But in the defense of Sonny Liston, the man was so over his head. I mean, his life was cut short in 1971. A lot of suspicion about his death. They
Yeah,
say he died of
his death was very suspicious to this day.
a heroin overdose, but his closest friends say that he was afraid of needles.
Exactly.
So, it could have been something very suspicious there. He's, tied in with the mob.
You never know.
But if the man's life was on the line or his family's lives were on the line, that's bigger than fighting. But that just goes to show, folks, that boxing and most professional sports can be corrupt if the wrong people get their hands around it.
Absolutely. Look what
So
just happened with the NBA with that whole corruption thing and, that whole gambling scandal with the mafia and this and that. And this is in 2025.
that's right. They always find their way in. They always
This is
do.
in
And
2025, and it's not boxing, it's the NBA. The NBA is supposed to be so regulated, much more regulated than boxing. Boxing is like, like the hood compared to NBA, And
and MLB. And you see baseball too.
yeah,
Emmanuel Clase, one of the best closers in baseball. And one thing is that these guys aren't necessarily throwing games to our knowledge. Nothing like that serious come out.
uh-huh.
But at the end of the game, like during junk time, they're committing turnovers that are leading to obvious quick cash outs. And say like Emmanuel Clase, the first pitch he'll throw it down in the dirt, and there'll be like a category, say on one of these gambling websites, that says the first pitch will be a ball.
Wow.
So we'll make sure to throw a ball.
Right.
So
But that's like
not to
that's
the
like a
extent,
specific where you can have payouts. Like that's like me saying,
yep,
okay, he's gonna knock him down in round three, and then he knocked him down in round three. My payout is a lot bigger than just him winning the fight, but I just predicted he'll win the fight. But if I say he's gonna win the fight, he's gonna knock him down in round three, I'm gonna make a lot more money. So I that's crazy.
it is crazy. And one specific highlight which kills me, he's playing against the Dodgers. It's the Guardians versus the Dodgers, and he tries to throw a ball, and the batter swings. I forgot who it was for the Dodgers, but he swings at that, and it was a terrible swing. He was not supposed to swing at it at all. And the reports that came out and the text messages that leaked are him getting yelled at by the guy who was supposed to make this money off the cash out. He's like, "What the hell are you doing?"
What?
And
Get
Emmanuel
out of
Cross says,
here.
"Yeah." So those are the texts that leaked. So very, very intriguing to see how it's all unfolding. And this has nothing to do with these mafia games out in the Hamptons and in Vegas, these card
Oh,
games
forget
that,
it.
which by the way, I don't know if you saw this, Nick, but they had cameras on, they had x-ray
I
tables.
saw that. Yeah, they had
They
mirrors in the
had
tables, X-ray. I'm like, what is going on? Like, I'm in the wrong industry.
right, what's going on? It's like Ocean's 11. So really crazy stuff. But we're going to come back and wrap up this evening's episode of What's Going On, because this is a perfect time to get into whether or not it's possible that Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua could throw this fight in some capacity. You're tuned into Fox Sports Radio Rochester. Danique Liddell, Ryan Vernell in studio, and we are peeling back the layers and jumping down the rabbit holes. Don't go nowhere. Join us in this next rabbit hole. We'll be back soon. You are tuned in to the What's Going On, a YouTube channel. Also, on a whole bunch of great radio stations, but our favorite radio station at the moment is Fox Sports Rochester. Rochester, we love you. We hope it's
We
nice up
do.
there. We know it's not, which is why we're going to stay right here on Long Island and broadcast from where we're at. There's a lot of great fighting news going on, but nothing is more exciting or important as Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul. We're talking
Right?
Rocky versus Apollo. We're talking ESPN versus Disney. It's going
Yes, it
down, dog.
is. It's
So, Denise,
going down November 19th. Everybody better be subscribed to Netflix.
which most people are subscribed to Netflix, or at least we're stealing our friends or family members' accounts. So
You're
there's
right.
no
Everybody's stealing
excuses.
everybody's memberships.
We are stealing memberships in this biatch right here. And what's very important about this fight is the legitimacy of it, because we talked
Right.
earlier about it being a win-win for both parties. The last fight, Jake Paul versus Tank Davis, to me, it really doesn't seem like a win-win. There's so much that could go wrong. Reputation's on the line, and there's no
Right.
coming back from somebody like, I guess Anthony Joshua really is the one that, or I'm sorry, Tank Davis to me had the most on the line. If he were to get knocked out by Jake Paul, not good. If Jake Paul were to get
Right.
knocked out by a person that small, not good. So just a
Right.
lose lose.
The
This
only thing
seems a
that they
lot more
had to gain
simple.
was the money.
That's it, and not as much as this one. Like you mentioned, how much did he?
Yeah.
Was it $92 million?
$92 million.
It's insane.
$92 million. Like that is insane money. They're saying like maybe after everybody's paid out, 72 million. Like, oh, okay. Big difference. Like, are you kidding? That is money that neither one of them have to do anything ever again, you know?
That So I went to my investigators, the ones that I pay $20 a month for, AI investigators. And I just asked it. I actually, this was the prompt. I said, after looking at how people were throwing fights back in the day, I need you to break down each and every possible way that these guys could throw this fight. It
Mhm.
doesn't make any sense to me. I kind of use a little bias here. So it doesn't make any sense to me that, and many others, that Jake Paul could even compete with a guy like Anthony Joshua. Please, like it's the Asian chat. Please break down, if possible, every single way that these guys could rig the fight to fool us all. And so essentially, they gave me a breakdown of all these different ways that they could use. And I'm going to just go for a couple of the best ones and run it by you
Okay.
to see if you think that it could actually work. And the first one is taking a delayed fall. They could say that, either of these guys could purposely stay down longer than necessary after a fight, right? Or after a punch that hits them in the face.
Right. Now they
Um,
could, but you still have to get up before the count. So, basically, to me, like I always think that they should stay down for the entire count to get once they get knocked down, so they can get their win back. Because I feel like if they when they get knocked down, they get right back up. They kind of are still off of equilibrium. So, taking a delay, I don't know about that because you have to get up before the count. Like, you have to be up on your feet and ready to go before the count's over. So, I would kind of put that. I don't think that would be it. No.
yeah, I mean, essentially, it's just the obvious ways that you could think. I wish ChatGPT gave me a better breakdown.
Right.
Legs giving out systemically,
Oh,
fighters acting dramatically, um, the corner looking too calm. These are things that that
but
you
that
could
is true.
imagine that
Well,
people.
that would be like clues for the audience that why his corner looks so calm, like like they kind of acted like they really didn't even care what was going on in the fight because they knew what the outcome was going to be.
Yeah,
So that would be a clue for us as the fans to pick up on. Oh, that fight was thrown, but essentially, like if you really just look at at both fighters, just look at their records. I like Jake Paul and everything, but he shouldn't win this fight.
it just doesn't make sense.
Because
Like,
just logically it doesn't make sense. Just logically it didn't make sense for him fighting Tank. I'm a Libra. I deal with a lot of logic. So just logically it doesn't make sense that Jake Paul would be able to knock out Anthony Joshua. Now, or even win the fight, even on points. He's an Olympian. He's a gold Olympian. Like he's a two-time unified heavyweight champion of the world.
it just
And every
sucks
time he
because
lost his belts, he got them back. So like, he could have an off night. He could. And it's a short notice fight, where what are we? It's a month out. Today's what? Today's the 18th or 19th. It's a month out. So, it is they are kind of in training a lot longer usually. So that could be a factor of Anthony Joshua losing this fight, but I don't really see him losing this fight. I don't. But I mean, hey, if Jake wins, kudos to Jake, because like I said, I like Jake. I like his team. I think they're great. So, I just can't wait for it.
look, just after this breakdown and this investigation, I've kind of determined at this point that we'll never know.
No.
Like there's a
It's
million
it's
things these guys can
speculation.
do. It's all speculation, and
Yeah.
even if these guys did have something, a conversation behind the scenes to make sure, there's really no way to find out, and it really is a shame. I guess we just kind of have to hope that cross our fingers and hope that this is a real fight and that we're not being tricked and it's not staged because there's no way that we can really figure it out, right? So,
Right. And you know
um,
what? Jake Paul actually does have really legitimate trainers in his camp. Let's not negate the fact that he has real trainers in his camp that are getting him prepared for the fight. And we have seen Anthony Joshua have holes. He lost four times. So we have seen him have holes in his game plan and other boxers be able to take advantage of that. Boxers who were supposedly not on his level able to take advantage of that. So, I mean, we have seen him lose four times. So, is it possible for Jake Paul to win this fight? Yes, it is. It's possible because Anthony Joshua, sometimes he's not always like 100% prepared for his fights. It's not like he's like a Tank Davis who's undefeated. You
Well,
know,
there
he's
you
not an
have it.
undefeated boxer. So there is a
Danique, give
chance
your
that Jake
opinion.
Paul can
There's
win.
a chance. There's a chance. There's a slight chance in hell that Jake Paul could win this fight. We'll never know. I'm gonna say that my gut tells me, yeah, I guess anyone could have a puncher's chance, but it just doesn't make sense. I feel like Anthony Joshua has been. He's lived for this. Maybe not for this moment to knock out Jake Paul, but he's lived his entire life fighting the greats, and the actual greats, not
Hmm.
guys that once were great. So look, I think it's absolutely silly. I'm excited. I'm going to be paying for Netflix regardless. I'm going to be watching it because you'll be covering it,
Right.
hopefully. So, you know, I'm invested. And I hope that you guys are too, folks. Let us know what you think. We want you to let
Put it
us
in the
know
comment
also
section.
which
Let us
boxing
know what you think.
conspiracies, what should we look into? What should our next unknown boxing history segment be? There's just so much good stuff out there considering all this corruption. So let us know at what's going on all or what's going on sports on all socials. Go to our website, Fox Sports Radio, WGO, and of course, my boxing point of view for Denise takes on everything in the boxing world. That's where the real expertise happens. So go to my boxing point of view. What did I miss, Denise?
Also, we do have some upcoming fights coming. So we have Benavidez versus Yard and Devin Haney versus Brian Norman, and that's this Saturday. If anybody wants to watch good boxing, those would be really, really good boxing matches, both of them. I am definitely fans of all four of those boxers, and there will be excellent fights. So to watch that, we have Tony Harrison. He's going to be versing Chavez in December. We have Shakur Stevenson versus Teofimo Lopez in January to start the year off. And then we have Ryan Garcia making a ring comeback. And he's going to be versing
Hmm.
Mario Barrios. And that's in February. That was just announced last night. So you guys